Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Pros podcast, brought to you by Investor Fuel, the nation's premier real estate mastermind. I'm your host, Dylan Silver, and today on the show we have John Cavalieri. John is the founder of Cavalieri Construction and brings over 25 years of hands-on experience in the construction industry. John, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Appreciate the invite.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're thrilled to have you here. We're actually from the same part of the country, which is rare on this show since we're based in Texas. Sometimes we get people who are from this part of the country, but you're in New Jersey and I'm a New Jersey native, so it's good to have someone from the same area of the country on the show.
That's right, man. Yep, absolutely. We're from South Jersey, so.
Yeah. I tell folks New Jersey can seem big when you live there because you've got, the top. I was in Essex County, but then you've got Cape May down at the bottom, and it seems like the two are almost two different cultures. But then you come to Texas, and you can go from the top of Texas to the bottom of Texas, and that's like driving from Maine to South Jersey.
Texas is huge, right? I mean, they said is it one of the biggest states in the country?
It's got to be. I mean, I'm sure Alaska's got a speed, but they're probably the only ones. But from the top, what I like to talk about with folks is really how they got into the business. And I know before we hopped on here, you mentioned really it's in your blood. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, my family's been in the construction industry or trades for, probably almost 100 years in Philadelphia now. Union, non-union, but it just evolved over the years. Flooring industry, general construction, had family members that owned businesses. Some were superintendents of big companies. I think one of my uncles had built the Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia years ago.
Wow.
One of my great uncles. Yeah.
Any idea as far as origin story, how the family got into the business?
I don't necessarily. I know that my grandfather was a carpenter. One of my grandfathers was a carpenter. I know that over in Italy, our family were stonemasons. So that I'm sure that transferred over to here in that particular, in the construction industry, just not stonemason by itself. I ended up becoming a VP of a masonry restoration firm years ago. So I into that industry.
Mason restoration, when that comes to mind, I'm thinking, forgive me for the basic understanding of like a cathedral and like literally restoring a cathedral. What is a Mason restoration?
So any type of brick repointing, brick cleaning, terracotta, limestone restoration, just repointing or replacing mortar joints, any of those type of facades, like in Philadelphia, New York, major cities, like you said.
Yeah.
Or cathedrals, any of that type of restoration.
What do they call that? Art Deco. A lot of that I feel like is involved there. Are you familiar with that term?
Yeah, familiar with that term. There's all different types of cathedrals. You have the Gothic and Art Deco, and yeah, absolutely.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Being in the family business, a lot of folks will talk about wanting to pass down a legacy to their children, and their children's children. You're talking about 100 years going from Philadelphia, New Jersey, the East Coast. Did you always know that you wanted to be a part of the family business, or was it like an aha moment? How did you decide I'm gonna carry the torch?
Well, I mean, my business personally isn't a passed down business, just so we're on the same page.
Okay.
I created this business over the years. But I've been in the construction industry personally for 25 years. I became a union carpenter back right out of high school. And I just knew that I wanted to follow in the family's footsteps in that aspect.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you didn't inherit the business, but you inherited kind of the craftsmanship and the trade and the idea that I want to work, on properties. I want to work in the real estate space on the construction side.
Well, the funny thing is that my family was primarily in the flooring industry for the longest time, and I knew I didn't want to crawl around on my hands and knees laying floors because I did that when I was at a young age, and then I got involved with the carpenters union to become a carpenter. I wanted to swing a hammer and learn every aspect of the building industry.
So from the time where you mentioned out of high school,
Yep.
from the time where you were out of high school until when you founded Cavalieri Construction, how long was that time period, and what was the growth process like?
So the growth. So I'll tell you. So I became a carpenter, graduated from the apprenticeship, and eventually ended up leaving the carpenters union to become a project manager for a masonry restoration firm in the Philadelphia area. And then my career had taken off from there, where I became a project manager, and then grew a masonry restoration firm in Philly from nothing to $15 million in revenue in a recession. So that had that put me into that industry for many years after that as well, before I even started my own business.
So going from mason restoration to then starting your own business, did you have in the back of your mind, were you always thinking, I'm going to have my own business? This is something that, I want to be in control of my time, scale, or was it divine intervention? How did you get to where you are today?
No, I always had an entrepreneurial, spirit, mindset. I always had a hard time working for companies. I definitely knew that I wanted to have a company of my own down the road, but I just felt like I needed to learn through other companies and other things in order to own my own business. I wanted to learn about the business, how the mechanics worked, how the back end of the business worked, how the front end, getting it done, estimates and project management.
Before we hopped on here, John, I had mentioned, in the real estate space, people will often, broad strokes talk about the career path, if you will, of a real estate investor. You could go ahead and get a real estate license, but what I've been seeing more and more of is folks who are on the outside looking in. Maybe they might be a teacher. They could work for the government. In my case, I was working for a car dealership. I was a salesperson at Nissan for a couple years, and I knew that I wanted to be in the real estate space. It wasn't in my blood. I literally knew nobody. Like, the only people that I knew in the real estate space were like realtors who I just kind of roughly knew as acquaintances, but no cousins, no family, nothing. And so I was buying books. I was YouTubing, because we have YouTube.
Yep.
I was going to our local RIA, and this is a crazy story, but one of these RIA events, they said, hey, Vanilla Ice is going to be at our next RIA event in Addison. I was living in San Antonio at the time, so I drove all the way up from San Antonio. I want to say I paid like $1,700 to go to that. I paid, which was like the money that I had at the time. I drove up from San Antonio to Addison. crazy story. Vanilla Ice was at a baseball game. I want to say it was a Chicago Cubs game
Yeah.
where someone was brandishing a weapon. This wasn't that long ago. This was like 2 years ago. And so he didn't know if he was going to be able to make it, but he ended up showing up. And I
Yep.
learned all about how he was buying properties under the appraised value. And so kind of bells were going off in my head. I can do this. I can do this.
Yeah.
And I saw the life path of an investor. You go from either having money, which is what Vanilla Ice had, so he could go buy these properties with cash,
Yep.
or you become a wholesaler, which is what I was doing. From being a wholesaler, you eventually get to a point where you can fix and flip or be a minority partner in those deals.
Yep.
Then you can do some buy and hold action. So that might be Airbnb, short-term rental, or a long-term rental. And then from there, especially right now, because of rates and the current market conditions, folks will go and they'll be note buyers. They'll be hard money lenders. They'll really take themselves out of working in and on the homes and just lend money. So I'm curious from your perspective, what's kind of the similar career path for someone in the construction space, if there is one?
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
Well, as far as like you mean you might elaborate a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah. No. I mean, so let's just say I'm not in the construction space, which is true, and maybe I'm thinking about being an apprentice, but one day I'd like to, own my own successful contracting company, and I don't know where to start. Or maybe one day I want to be, I have a franchise HVAC company with locations all throughout the state, and I have no idea how to start. I don't know about, business and so on and so forth. Is it as simple as, I become an apprentice and see who I can shadow, or is there like knowledge and skill that I have to seek out outside of that's not going to be handed to me?
I'm saying, yeah. So, I mean, I believe there's no one size fits all, but I believe that if you really want to learn the business that you would eventually want to own, you definitely should. It's similar to like a franchise where, Domino's, you're going to be the driver, the cook, the person at the register. You're going to learn everything. So in a construction business, I feel like you're going to want to know how to estimate, how to do the work, how to manage it, how the back end stuff goes. Now you might not get that opportunity right out the gate, but if you work your way up the ladder, you could get into it. You get out in the field, you learn the field, then you get into the office, and that's essentially what I did. Is I knew the field, I knew how to build things, and then I got in the office as a project manager because I knew how to read drawings and blueprints. So there are classes that you could take. You don't have to go into the union as an apprentice. You could always go to a community college and learn how to read a set of drawings. I think that's very key, is knowing how to read a set of prints, read a set of specifications, know the local ordinances and codes. So you could do that on your own time. Now every township and every city has different ordinances and permit requirements, but the majority of the building code is the same. And then you could work on stuff around your house and just learn how to swing a hammer and use a drill and buy the right tools and stay away from the generic tools and buy the good stuff.
Speaking about blueprints and
Yeah.
knowing the ordinances, this is actually really specific. We're getting like detailed drilling down into what people can do to I don't want to say scale, but to get to the next level. Was
Yeah.
it obvious to you that you needed to seek out that knowledge, or did you come to a point where you were like, what do I have to do? I have to learn blueprints.
No, it was kind of a natural thing. I mean, in order for me to build the things, I needed to know how to read the drawings. And I knew that I was never going to excel in my career if I wasn't able to read a set of prints.
I see, I see. And so I'm imagining at this point in time, you're working in the masonry restoration space, and you're ripping the cover off the ball. Are you seeing other people who are going out and they're starting their own businesses, and you're saying, "Hey, I can do that," or is it like no one else is doing it, and you're realizing I can do this? Let me go out and do my own thing.
It was still, I still had, so besides the masonry and restoration field, I had gotten out of that field and gotten into a different industry of construction, a facility maintenance industry on a national level. So I was still molding my craft at the time and learning different parts of the business um, before I had made the 100% switch to Cavalieri Construction.
So roughly speaking, roughly what age did you start Cavalieri Construction?
It was back in 2013 when I had actually formed Cavalieri Group, and then
Okay.
it morphed into Cavalieri Construction just recently.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
Okay. Okay. So, uh, if you can talk to us about those inception days, what it was like, uh, what were your projects like? How were you finding clients?
So I
In the real. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I actually started out in the commercial industry prior to the residential space with Cavalieri Group. Cavalieri Group consisted of like national facility maintenance or regional facility maintenance, I'm going to say, as well as masonry restoration. And I was in that commercial space for several years until I decided to move out of that space because of a couple different factors. One being payment terms.
And folks, who are listening, me in particular, but I'm sure a lot of our listeners, uh, people are wax poetic about commercial. I'm actually, God willing, going to be a realtor here in mid-April. I'm sitting for my license March 31st. But
Great.
at the school that I went to, Champion School in Fort Worth, Texas, people are talking about how do I get into the commercial space, and it just seems like that's the destination point. But before we hopped on here, you explained, actually, depending on what size you're at, there's potentially more money to be made with less risk in the residential space. And you talk about how with Cavalieri Construction, you're actually seizing on an opportunity because there's a lot of people just working out of a truck.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we took so from my commercial experience, I had taken the professionalism and brought that into the residential space because I noticed that there's just a guy with a pickup truck and he slaps a name on the side of it and he calls himself a contractor. We when we meet with our customers, we throw a whole professional proposal, pictures, full blown proposal to these people so that they understand what exactly they're getting, not just, a one page estimate or a quote that has a number on it and a couple lines to it. These people have a full gist of what they're paying for.
Speaking about superior processes and presentation, for folks in the real estate space who are trying to get out of the business, they're in the business, they're working on their flips, or they have their rentals and they're trying to get out. The thing that's uh, constantly harped on is having people and processes in place. So you've grown a company and capitalized on this relative void of folks who are working out of the truck and not bringing that professionalism from the commercial space to residential. How did you grow your team? What were the growing pains, if any? And what's your general philosophy about growing teams?
So I feel like what we've done is we've taken individuals or I want to say partners or subcontractors that didn't have a lot of the business experience and molded them to our culture and basically I've mentored a lot of different people to like, hey, this is how we do it and this is how we would like you to do it when you're in front of our customers. So they didn't bring their bad habits. They didn't really have a lot of habits. They just knew how to get the work done. A painter or a plumber or an electrician, he knew how to do the work, but we just helped him with the professionalism. So
And for folks listening, scaling a business, especially with COVID and with everything that was going on, definitely New Jersey was not the easiest place. I can only imagine that there was some difficult times to navigate. I mentioned before we hopped on here that earlier this week I spoke with a gentleman who only invests in the industrial space. That's all he does. Talking about how they actually were able to capitalize on that because of PPP loans, and they had increased interest in industrial warehouse space for that, which they didn't have before. So where everyone else is thinking, commercial real estate can't be doing well. Well, industrial, in this case in New Jersey, the guy was from Jersey as well, was doing well. And so navigating COVID, navigating the years, how have you managed to weather storms and to see your way through some clouds?
You have to adapt and overcome. I mean, when it came down to COVID and all that other stuff, people were looking for office space in their house. So we were renovating office space in their house. Now with some of the current lack of real estate, people are wanting to add additions onto their house. So you had to be very versatile in your business and just go with the times, where like I said, with the offices, we were able to do that. And then with additions, just adding real estate instead of people wanting to move. I mean, that was just the way it was.
And it's true. Going from commercial to residential, bringing your expertise from that area about the systems and processes and presentation, right? And then also being able to pivot to, hey, there's all this need for offices. Was there specific marketing or was there specific lead funnels that you were generating through this time, or was it all, word of mouth and your business speaking for itself, your past job speaking for itself?
It's definitely a mix between repeat and referral business, as well as utilizing your Google presence or your online presence. But then also what I've noticed is, yeah, that's all great to use Google presence and ads and all those fun things. But I feel like people do business with people they like. So meeting people in person and getting referrals, like going to join a BNI group and being in front of 20, 30 other individuals and networking events where you're handing out your business card and you're shaking their hand and they're seeing who you are. People aren't able to do that, Googling somebody. And that I never relied on that ever in my life. It was always old school business with new school technology.
I completely agree, John. And for me, it wasn't until I realized that
Yeah.
people have to be fanatically networking, especially if you're completely new to the space like I was. You can't just kind of lackadaisically read a book, watch a YouTube video, and think that you're going to be handed, in my case, a wholesale deal. It's just not going to happen. You're not just going to scroll through Facebook Marketplace and find wholesale deals. I have a mentor. It was an old boss, Frankie. If he ever is listening.
An old mentor named Frank. He actually passed away. That's funny. That is wild, man.
Yeah, that's how it works. But Frankie would say, "Look, man, it's a contact sport. It's a contact sport. If you want to find distressed properties, you're not going to do this just through, picking up the phone as much as you would like to. Sure, you could buy leads, those are going to cost you $250 per, and then you have to convert them. But, the best way to do it is you see a house that's distressed, go up and knock on the door, see what kind of business you can drum up for yourself." And I have to say, the first 6 months of me being in the real estate space, I wasn't doing enough. And then to fast forward to now, I'm going to networking events twice per week. I'm hosting 5 of these a day. And I'm realizing that I still don't feel like I'm doing enough. I'm like, I see other people where, they're the inverse. They're literally charging for their time, like tens of thousands of dollars for a day. And I'm like, that's unbelievable. Like the people come to them. So now I'm flipping it on its head and going, okay, before I thought I could go to, one RIA meeting a month and, say that was good enough. Now I'm like, I need to be living rent free in people's heads. I need to see, when they scroll through their social feed, they'll see 2 posts by Dylan Silver. And that, my past book of business that they're saying, hey, if you need, to move a property quickly, that they're going to reach out to me.
Yeah. No, absolutely, man. I mean, granted, we do use current technologies, like we use AI technology within the back end. We're able to tie in. That's another thing that we do is we're able to tie in our existing systems, like our accounting software with our estimating software and our website, where we automate a lot of stuff and we make it very easy to work with, where we're not doing things. That's another thing that I teach my people that are with me, like my partners, is that we help them with all their back end information and help automate it so that they could have one time to actually be on the job and work and not have to worry about invoicing and all these other fun things. And they could also have time in their own life and enjoy a life besides just working.
John, I know no one has a crystal ball here, but I like to ask my guests with AI, which you mentioned. I think a lot of our listeners probably aren't aware of how much this has infiltrated all business. You think, maybe, interacting with people, you see it a lot. Like I used to work in the automotive space. So dealerships are using AI to text customers, but you just mentioned AI on your back end in a construction business. How are you using it now? And then also, where do you maybe see it going to in the next couple of years in your business specifically?
So, I mean, it's funny. We really have introduced it in where we tie in from our website leads, which ties into our invoicing system. It ties into our proposals, everything. I mean, we even use it for blueprints to get a budgetary number out to a customer. If somebody gives me a set of blueprints, I could put it into to a program where it spits out a budgetary proposal with a good number, and I'll back it up. I'll look at the number and see how it is per square foot. But we've utilized that technology extremely, and we're actually creating, believe it or not, we're creating a business that will help small business contractors with their back end, with all their automation that's in the works right now.
Wow, that's awesome. As far as creating a business, I speak with a lot of people who talk about like strategic relationships. There's a guy just on the podcast before this who talked about he went from Wall Street to then using his ability to raise capital for, investments in the finance space, to then someone approached him about, hey, you can do that in the finance space. Why don't you help raise money for real estate investing, and we can take down deals together. So the one guy was involved in fixing and flipping, and then he got the guy who knew how to raise capital, and they were effectively matched after that, and they're taking deals down all across the country at scale, effectively a hedge fund, if you will, for that type of thing. And so do you have any similar feedback on, the importance of these strategic relationships and having someone in your back pocket who you might be able to use down the line?
Yeah, so we form many strategic partnerships. For instance, like on our design build team, we have architects, engineers, we bring everybody together. And that also is impressive to a customer when you could say, hey, listen, I have an architect, I have an engineer, I have a surveyor, we have all that. And then, we also have strategic partnerships with realtors and mortgage companies. I just did a presentation at a mortgage company where in front of 50 or 60 realtors, giving them some insight and some construction knowledge. And now I have relationships with 50 or 60 more realtors as well as the mortgage company, and they're going to utilize me for the 203 loans as well. So,
Yeah.
Those are, I feel like if you're educating out there and you get in front of a group of people and you're able to add value to a person's, their knowledge to them, then they're going to utilize you. They're going to call you. I probably handed out 30 business cards yesterday just for that particular event.
The funny thing that I've noticed about being in real estate is I thought when I was in automotive that no one would want to give me the game, so to speak, because kind of like when you're working in the automotive space, I sold cars for 5 years. At the tail end, I was working for Nissan. They have this saying like, be dumb. Like, you don't have to know what you don't need to know.
Yep.
And so you don't need to know about how this is financed. You don't need to know about the approval process. You need to know the bare minimum to get the deal through the box and to take care of your customer, and that's good enough. And so in the real estate space, I truly feel like I have a thirst for knowledge that's enabled me to get into this chair where I'm at right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only way that I'm here. And I'm surprised that whenever I typically go and ask someone for advice, that they give me the answer.
Yeah.
I'll be at a meetup and folks will be talking, and I'm like, I should be paying this person for all the game that they're giving me. Have you found anything similar in the construction space, or are people maybe a little bit more like tight-lipped with giving others advice?
No, believe it or not, some of these networking events and some of these things that I've gone to in the past have been people that have recommended me sharing their insight or sharing their connections. Like this, one person in particular, they had said, "Hey, listen, you should go to this networking event. You should meet these people. Hey, I'll put you in front of this mortgage company. You could do a presentation." Like they are offering their help because you know what? Down the road, that I might not have business for them now, but down the road when somebody's talking to me and they need their services, whether it's title services or whatnot, I'm going to refer them right away because I know that they thought of me and they were a giver and they weren't necessarily saying I need to receive something right now, but down the road, I'm going to think of them. They're planting seeds, and it's all about planting those long-term seeds. You never know what you're going to, because I helped out another contractor the other day where they were trying to sell to me, and I'm like, listen, you need to do this, that, the other, and I was just helping them. I'm like, look, you might become a competitor down the road, but I'm just trying to give you a hand, and trying to help
Yeah.
you, give you some guidance.
100%. The way I ended up sitting in this chair that I'm in now is a crazy story. It's almost like if I told someone this, it just sounds unbelievable. The amount of stars that had to align. I didn't know what I was doing in wholesale.
Yep.
This was in San Antonio, Texas, and I was working for a company. God bless them, but they ended up really kind of dissolving or not operating any longer, going under. And we had this contract in Azle, Texas, which is west of Dallas, west of DFW. And I'm
Yep.
on Investor Lift, which, for those who aren't familiar, it's this online tool where you can go to find real estate investors who are operating in a specific area. And so I found a guy in the DFW area who was buying these types of properties, and I texted him the information on the property, and I said, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And he texted me back, "You really don't know what you're doing. Your photos are terrible, and I'm not interested," more or less.
Wow.
But at the time, I was, really gung ho and fully in on I'm going to learn how to wholesale. So I just badgered him and badgered him and badgered him, and we ended up becoming friends somehow, which I don't recommend that to everybody, but I was utterly relentless about him buying one of my deals. He never bought one of my deals, but what he suggested to me was move from San Antonio to Dallas or to DFW, which I did. And then he found out that I was in DFW and was kind of shocked that I took that advice. And he's like, we should start doing some deals together. So
Yeah.
since then, we've done 4 assignments of contract. He actually bought one of the deals that we had in Weatherford, and I'm, filming this out of a office on one of his ranches. And
Nice.
so it's like literally a cold call for a property that he was not interested in is how I'm where I'm at. And by the way, the owner of this podcast, Mike Hambright, who owns Investor Fuel, posted somewhere, "Hey, I'm looking for someone to host a podcast." My mentor, Ryan, saw that and said, "Hey, Dylan might be a good fit for this." And so it's like
That's cool, man.
you can't make this stuff up. It's literally about fanatically networking and putting yourself into that position. And in your case, like you could have easily said, I'm this is the family business. I'm just gonna follow in their footsteps. I'm not gonna do anything radically different. But
Yep.
instead, you took it to another level.
Absolutely, 100%, man. And I just want to be able to leave a legacy for my kids as well. That's the main goal is I want to be able to say, all right, kids, here's a company I built, and we already have some of our kids that want to take over and learn the trade. Get in the actually we have one of our sons who wants to become a realtor at 18 and become a carpenter right out the gate. So he's getting ready.
That's awesome, man. And we talked a little bit before hopping on here, just about handing down a business.
Yep.
And I think a lot of folks are in a position where either they have a business and their kids aren't interested,
Yep.
or they have a business and maybe the kids show some interest, but it's nonetheless a responsibility to take over a business, And so to
Yep.
have someone who's excited and ready to go out of the gate, be a realtor, carpenter, that's awesome. And I think it's a testament to what you've been able to do to show, the next generation, hey, this is out there for you. Can you take it to the next level? There's 100 years of Cavalieris. Can you make it to the next 100? And we can, put our mark on New Jersey and Philadelphia.
Yeah, man, that's awesome, man. We're definitely excited for that. So.
100%. Well, we're coming up on time here, John. How can folks get a hold of you?
Our website is www.cavaliericustombuilds.com, and my email address is john at Cavaliericustombuilds.com.
Well, folks, that wraps up another episode of the Real Estate Pros podcast, brought to you by Investor Fuel, the nation's premier real estate mastermind. I'm your host, Dylan Silver, and until next time, thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.